Hey guys, you're watching BTech. I'm Basil, and you may remember me from channels like this one. Yep, I'm back for a few weeks preceding this channel, turning into the ultimate destination for smartphone photography. It's already pretty hot on it, but it's only gonna get hotter, and that's gonna influence a lot of what I talk about in the next few weeks. But it will be focused on phones. I've got incredible ones like the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. 108 megapixel camera phone still blows my mind, even though the Galaxy S20 Ultra also has it, as does the Xiaomi Note 10, as do loads of other phones. We've also got a OnePlus 8 Pro here, tons of stuff that we can do on them. Chill, don't have to get to them just yet. But on the subject of smartphone photography, I was playing about with this. I haven't seen any reviews of it anywhere online yet, so I thought I'd give you guys an early sneak peek. It's a Zhiyun Smooth X, and I've been using it for about a week now. I'm impressed. Now, if I had to sum it up, it's basically a love child of a gimbal like the DJI Osmo Mobile 3 and a selfie stick. Now, I have with a passion hated selfie sticks my whole life, but I've also loved gimbals. They keep your phone footage steady or your DSLR footage steady. Now, what you do with this, you give it a twist, then you give it a pull, sounds quite dodgy, then you give it a raise, and then you give it a spin. And you end up with what looks like a selfie stick that's a bit on the thick side. Now, unlike most traditional gimbals like this one, it doesn't have a 3-axis stabilization system. It has a 2-axis stabilization system, so it isn't going to work quite as well at keeping things steady. But extending it up to 26 centimeters, 260 millimeters, it does a really amazing job of working as a selfie stick. So it's not just if you've got short arms, it's just great for being on holiday when holidays can happen again after lockdown wraps up. Now, like I said, I've got a OnePlus 8 Pro here. The OnePlus 8 Pro has an amazing super steady mode on the rear camera, but it doesn't have that on the front camera. And so for selfie video, this gimbal slash selfie stick, the Zhiyun Smooth X, come in handy. So I'm going to fire it up and I'm going to show you what happens. First off, the OnePlus 8 Pro is a pretty big phone, pretty beefy, so you can see it's tilting everything like one way or another. I'm not going to calibrate anything. A lot of gimbals require calibration first. I'm just powering it on and bam! It's done the job. That in itself is very, very cool. It's very, very user-friendly. You've got a joystick that can manage basic controls, left, right, up and down, and by up and down, it really is twisting it. You can also switch between portrait and landscape orientation by double tapping that one of the buttons, the M button, and there's a record button to the right. Down at the base, you've got a tripod thread, available at $59 with no mini tripod or $69 with a mini tripod. Either way, you're getting really solid value for money. Personally, I would get the mini tripod one. Main reason being, I actually use this a lot of the time just on my desk, keeping my phone steady and up while watching Netflix. I know, not the intended use, but who cares? You're in lockdown. You're not exactly going to be jumping off a cliff waving at this thing. Anyway, back to the Smooth X. You've got a USB port as well. It's USB-C, so nicely future-proofed, unlike some gimbals out at the moment. And you've got a really decent sized phone holder that can handle massive devices like the OnePlus 8 Pro. Now, it all collapses really nicely. As soon as you power it off, it just disconnects and you can take your phone out. Spring-loaded mechanism, you lock one part in place, then expand it out, twist slightly, spin it, and close it. Now, I wasn't always this proficient at doing that. It feels a little bit awkward, a little bit finicky at first. I definitely recommend when you do first get it in your hands, you try that process. It really is just a twist, then a bend, then a spin, and an expand if you want to use it as a selfie stick or just as a traditional gimbal, works a treat. You also have to unlock the phone holder. Unless you do, it won't engage, so there are nice safety mechanisms in place. You also have a battery meter on the left-hand side. Now, let's talk about battery before we get into the functionality. The battery is about 3 to 4 hours, and I found in real life it was relatively true to that. However, like I said, most of what I was using it for was to test out the battery was on Surface while I was watching Netflix, and it veered towards a 4-hour mark. So it could potentially be a fair bit less if you were taking it out and about walking for a long time. Now the application's called ZY Cami. It's not the same application that you would be using, for example, another Zhiyun device. But to be honest, you won't want to get the Smooth X if you are using another Zhiyun device. Zhiyun devices generally are super high end. This is a seriously consumer grade piece of equipment. So we're guessing Zhiyun fans probably won't be picking this up for themselves, but maybe for their less camera-tastic significant others potentially. So we've connected that up. As you can see, you've got some options on here. You've got Smart, which lets you record a series of clips in various themes. And it overlays music against them. You've also got a panorama option, which you can engage in either portrait or landscape. And I can activate portrait or landscape by hitting the M button twice. Then you've also got photo and video mode. Now I can switch between photo and video mode very easily as well by double hitting the record button. And that switches between photo and video mode without me having to touch the screen, which is ace. There is object tracking and gesture control as well. And I'm going to talk about object tracking and face tracking specifically in this video that was recorded on the selfie camera on the OnePlus 8 Pro. As soon as I got my hands on the Zhiyun Smooth X, I really wanted to test out the follow mode or the face recognition or whatever you want to call it. Turns out there are two very different things on this device. If you try and use face recognition and you do it with the follow mode functionality or the object tracking, I draw a square around my face, I move out of frame, and it kind of gets it, but it gets confused really, really easily, as you can see, which made me think, oh, it's not that great. But actually, if you do things properly, it turns out that it works really well. 4 presses of the M button, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that resets the follow mode. And as you can see, as I walk around, my face is in frame. The application handles exposure shifting relatively well as well. As you can see, I'm in an environment which is light, and now I am in an environment which is dark, and it's shifting exposure accordingly. Now, onto object tracking, very, very different. And for that, I'm going to have to flip to the front camera, which I can activate by hitting the record button 3 times. If I just draw a square around this boomerang, then walk backwards, out of frame, in frame, I'm like going at all sides here, and it's locking on relatively well. Definitely works better with objects that are a little bit further away than a face might be. As you can see, it's expanded the area, but it's still locking onto the boomerang pretty well. Let's try this little guy. Square around him, and pan around, and pan around. And as you can see, again, it's being tracked relatively well. When it comes to walking, holding the phone in front of you, flipping it up, and looking at it, walking, talking, it's not going to have the buttery smoothness of a 3-axis gimbal because the main axis, which is going to be compensated for by footsteps, is missing. Having said that, if you're doing stuff like this, standing relatively stationary, and it's the left and right axis that are going to be challenged, this is a perfect solution. It's very, very consumer grade. I can't stress that enough. This is not the ultimate in stabilization, but what the Smooth X does more than anything I've ever tested is find a middle ground between a selfie stick and a gimbal that actually offers more of the app functionality of gimbals and less of the kind of just self-indulgent, gratuitous utility of selfie sticks. So it's a beautiful marriage that I actually am a big, big fan of. And I didn't think I would be when I saw the original renders of the device. So yeah, this is a Smooth X, an affordable selfie stick gimbal love child that does the job even if it won't blow your socks off with its stabilization chops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions about this or the OnePlus 8, please fire them in the comments section below. OnePlus 8 Pro. Like I said, got a load of other technology here, not least of all the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro and a device from Realme which is launching next week. So keep your eyes on the channel and we'll be posting videos of all of the above. Good to be back, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.